How you guys doing? This is Captain Spencer Clark with Breaking Bass Guide Service down here at Tilbury Rock Lake. Just want to give you guys a fishing report from the past week down here at Tilbury Rock. A couple things are changing as we're heading into fall here. The bite's getting a little bit different than it was the previous couple of weeks. A few things are changing out there on the lake. Right now, it seems like those deep fish, the fish that you're going to catch on like a drop shot rig or something out off the bank, they've actually moved into like that 37 to 40 foot depth range. If you're fishing down the dam area, that's where I've been spending most of my time. The last couple of weeks, just been kind of tracking the fish down there. And this week, it seemed like the fish, they went even deeper than what they were. One day, like 38 foot was like a real good depth range to be drop shotting in. And just the other day, it seemed like 35 was really good. So they're kind of moving around that 30 to 40 foot zone. If you're going to drop shot, say if you're going down to the dam area to fish, that's always going to be pretty consistent. It's just not as good as it was a couple weeks ago. That's because I think a lot of the fish now are starting to suspend a little bit more. They're not relating to cover as much as they were the last couple of weeks. It seems like if you can find some good deep cedar trees, that's where you're going to catch the majority of those drop shot fish right now. I got into a couple big schools the past week, and that seemed to be the ticket more so than like fishing brush piles or just off like points like out in the current. It just seemed like those fish were really wanting to relate to like deep standing timber more than anything, and that's been working pretty good. The other thing that I can tell you from this past week down here is that if you're going to try to drop shot, the morning bite seems to not be as good as like that late, like midday to like afternoon bite. It's been a lot more difficult the last week or so, last 2 weeks, to get those fish that are out deep at least fired up on that drop shot rig. It seems to be like, anywhere from like say 11 to 2 p.m. is the prime time to be doing the drop shot rig. It seems that's when we're catching the most of our fish. So keep that in mind if you're going to think about doing some deep fishing this upcoming weekend. There's a couple other things that are going on too. Had some success actually this week doing a little bit of cranking, a little bit of wake bait fishing up around the channel banks on the main lake. Right now there's some fish that have actually moved shallow off the main lake. They're kind of coming up on those channel swing banks, those transition banks, kind of like you would fish like in the springtime, catching some good largemouth around those kind of banks. But you got to work for them. You're only going to get like a couple fish on each bank, and so you're going to have to hit a lot of those to put that together in a day to get a lot of bites doing that. But as always, this time of the year, there's a number of fish that start coming shallow, and they really like to use those transition areas. A couple baits to keep in mind if you're going to be going up there trying to fish a little bit shallower this weekend would be some kind of a wake bait. Right now, there's an abundance of bluegill that are up around the banks, and the bass are eating them. Been catching some fish, actually throwing just a little bluegill style. I guess you could call this like a glide bait up around the banks. It seems like I'm doing better around some of those boat docks on those type of areas, or just like areas where there's cedar trees or like standing timber. If you get up in like say like Long Creek, something that's working right now is just a little bitty square bill like this. This is just a little custom square bill that you can throw up there if you get a little bit of off-colored water. This color seems to work really good this time of the year. It's just like a gold back with a little bit of silver foil in it. Just a little bitty crankbait like this. There's a lot of little tiny bait fish up there on the bank. I have been in some areas where I've actually seen some big gizzard shad up on the bank already, just kind of cruising around. Those would be like really good areas to try to find and throw like a whopper plopper or like a buzz bait in the morning. If you can find those areas where those big gizzard shad are moving up, that's been doing pretty good. If you're gonna go fish shallow though, like one bait that I would be picking up this time of the year is either some kind of like a wigglewort or like a rock crawler or something like that. Caught a few fish, this past week throwing a rock crawler, getting up around those transitional banks. catch some largemouth, some smallmouth doing that have moved up shallow. That'd be kind of like my strategy for like the morning. I know that there's like a champion charger boat owners tournament going on this weekend. Last year, they got like 178 boats, and after the first day, I was in fourth place with my partner, and then we kind of botched it the second day, and we ended up in 10th place overall. But we were doing last year is just throwing some top waters and covering a lot of water with like a little square bill, and we caught a lot of fish doing that on those channel banks last year. The fishing's always a little bit tougher. That's what most people think, this time of the year. But there's still a lot of really good opportunity to get into a lot of good fishing right now. You just kind of have to really pay attention to the timing. Timing is a huge thing right now on a lot of places. Doesn't matter if you're out fishing deep or you're up fishing the bank. Timing is going to play a big part on how well you do. I know that, I had a couple trips this past week and went to a few, deep spots early in the morning, and we didn't catch anything. Came back, about midday, and we caught about, 10 to 15 fish there and some really good ones. So the fish are there. It's just timing is going to be the biggest deciding factor if you get on the right bank at the right time to catch that fish. So you really want to be paying attention to, what time of the day you're catching fish and where you're catching them. This weekend, I've got some availability open for a guided trip. Starting to fill up my weekends the rest of October here. So if you're looking to come to Table Rock Lake, do a little bit of fishing, make sure to reach out to me and make sure to reserve those dates, as I'm starting to fill up pretty quick here. Got a lot of availability in November still. November is a great time to come down here. The deep bite is going to kind of go away here a little bit. I mean, we always got a deep bite on Table Rock, but there's going to be a shallow bite coming on here in the next month or so. And then as we get into November, there's a really, really good deep bite coming with like a jig and wrap, spoon. Catch a lot of fish that time of the year as those shad really start to stack up in the creeks. So some of the best fishing of the year is still ahead of us. And not a deer hunter here. I don't do any hunting, so I'm always on the water. So if you'd like to get down here, get down to Table Rock, take a guided fishing trip, give me a shout, 314-562-3332. And until next time, guys, good luck, good fishing.